one of the favorite pastimes of the young people in Grammy and Schoonmaker's family was to eliminate these rats, and they had a pretty elaborate procedure by which they did that, which involved banging on pipes and getting at the end and taking care of the rats. Well, anyway, when my family was growing up, when my immediate family of origin was growing up in Florida, we had a next door neighbor named Mrs. Christian, who was, let's just say she had not been raised near a barn. She was Venezuelan, and she had been raised with servants and things like that. And so her husband was an airline pilot, and he was gone a lot. And so she didn't really know much about what to do around the house, particularly when there were any problems. So she would always call my mother up to help her fix anything. So a few years ago, when we celebrated another birthday for Grammy, I don't know, 20 years ago, I wrote a little poem that tells a story about an incident that involves a rat and that involves Grammy helping out our next door neighbor in Florida. Is this okay for me to do?
Yeah. She said, oh no, this is going to be the rat thing.
And what's the poem?
So it's called The Rat Tale, a story of Ruth Hood's younger days with apologies to Lord Byron. And well, I'm an English professor, so I couldn't write anything simple. So it's actually written in this obscure stanza form called Ottava Rima. And if you want to, later on, I'll be happy to give you a disposition. But anyway,
is that for posterity?
Yeah, that's for posterity. Yeah. It's that first form that most famously Lord Byron used for his epic drama Don Juan. And so this is sort of written in that form, so it's a little bit obscure. I'll apologize for that. But I think
very funny.
Well, that's very kind of you to say that. All right, let's see if I can get through this. All right, so the rat tale. Good evening, fellow friends and pals. We welcome you to this divine event. We're here to celebrate the wife of Mal's for staying all these years above cement. 85 years precisely, this gal's been living, loving, helping out unbent. This woman's been a wonder all her life. She never sliced a child with hand or knife. The Quaker rule she lived by taught her how to shun all hatred and all violence, to much prefer the quiet, sacred vow that to turn the other cheek makes more sense. Ooh, the rhymes. She practiced this grand theory well, and now she lives a virtuous life of tolerance. But recently some information's come to light suggesting that this friend knows how to fight. The story goes that in Miami Springs, Ruth lived next door to Mrs. Christian, a Venezuelan known by all her rings. That scattered woman soon became a mission for Grammy's inbred call of doing things. If duty knocked, young Ruth proved herself a darling, who coaxed this neighbor through all raging stresses. But one peculiar trial's the subject of this fable, the day a rat got stuck under the table. It seems some brilliant man had thought it best when catching rats to feed his clients in the caper. traps were too easy, painless for that pest. He planned to trap her rats with huge fly paper. This is true. There are some parts of this that are true. The fly paper was true, although it was rat paper. This means was so superior to the rest. Why kill a thing when you can tape her? To catch a live rat always is a winner. That way you've got some protein for your dinner. Well, sure enough, one evening after supper, the terrified call came over and Mom answered. "Ruth! Ruth!" the woman shrieked. "A rat has stuck herself under my table. I'm so flustered. I don't know what to do. I need a helper." Her cry was heard. The phone replaced Ruth Mustard. If you, like me, had seen the rat lust shake her, you'd wonder too how Grammy is a Quaker. To arms! To arms! The call sprang from her throat. "Get me a broom and bat and bring a bag," she yelled at Jimmy where he was afloat in the deep end of the pool. He knew he couldn't lag. He'd heard that tone before. He grabbed a coat and followed after like a bounding stag. Grammy wins the prize for sheer determination when she's hell-bent upon extermination. Across the lawn and past the poor lady moaning, they ran, son, mother, armed with broom and bat. They swept through her front door as she, Mrs. Christian, lay groaning toward the room where paper stuck a sticky rat. It floundered like the victim of a stoning, gummed up in honey poison where it sat. A varmint's vicious when it's in a trap, but valiant Ruth Hood didn't give up. Oh, wait. "You hold the bag," she yelled while Jimmy shook. She grasped the broom like knights would hold their spears and swept the rat and paper with a hook shot that slid. Enjambment, you gotta love it. That slid the beast home midst the cheers of gasping neighbors, gawking as they looked, impressed beyond belief, and saved from fears. If you had seen Ruth's eyes, you'd think her loony. Unless you knew the truth. She's just a Schoonie. There's not much more. She'd bagged the beast, but this fight wasn't over. Her eyes were glooming like Vesuvian fire. That's an allusion to it. And while the lookers-on all rushed for cover, she grabbed the squirming bag with one desire: to take the murderous rat outside and shove her to where dead longtails sing in rodent choirs. Tough Ruth thinks a humane society is one where humans always live rat-free.
Amen. I'm with you on that one.
Outside now with the rat-filled bag in hand, she lifted up the trusty baseball bat with 12 strokes that struck like God's command. She dispatched bag and beast like hated fat. 1, 2, 1, 2. And through the land the blows resounded with a sickening splat. The poor rat never even knew what hit her. With rats, Mad Ruth will never be a quitter. And now the moral of the story's yours to judge. Are your thoughts of Friend Ruth about to change? If morals are your wish, say that I read one. The only kind of rat that's good's a dead one.